CraigMurray here, reporting to you from Beirut in Lebanon. We've had a really intense couple of days of Israeli bombardment. Yesterday there were 19 different air raids on Beirut by the Israeli army, by the Israeli Air Force. And today has been fairly constant. There's been drone activity, F-35s over continually. There's a very great deal of bombing this morning. And one difference today is we had 2 or 3 very large bombs in Christian areas of the city, including one which you could plainly feel where we are staying, and which we felt shake the house. So we're seeing an intensification, and the Israelis have said they're going to intensify, and they have intensified. And there are a couple of things I want to get over to you. The first one is that these are strikes on residential buildings. They're not strikes on any kind of military facility. They're not strikes even on office complexes. These are plainly residential apartments. And we have a couple of shots we can show you from earlier today of residential apartments being struck in Beirut. And I want you to look at the buildings. You can just see they're perfectly normal places where people live, where literally hundreds of people live. These are big blocks of apartments. And when you consider that Israel is striking in double figures of these kind of apartment blocks every day, that's destroying between 500 and 1,000 homes every day. People's homes, people's possessions, people's lives they've built up and going. And yes, it's perfectly possible that a Hezbollah member or two has their civilian home in an apartment in that block. Every soldier in the world has a civilian home somewhere that he came from. That doesn't give you the right to destroy huge areas of civilian housing, which is what this is about. Plainly, this is actually about extending genocide out of Gaza, out of the West Bank, extending it into the Lebanon, and particularly about attacking the civilian population. Anyway, let's have a look at those videos and just pay attention. Just think about the kind of blocks these are coming down, and think about who lived there, the lives of the people inside. That gives you some idea of the violence and the force of what is happening here, what Israel is inflicting using American-made bombs. Bombs not just made in America, bombs given to Israel by America in order for America to do this to people in Lebanon. Don't forget that. That's what's happening. And the other thing I want to get home to you is that the main area where this is happening, as I say, it's been happening all over Beirut today, but mainly it's been concentrated on the area just behind me here, which is called Dahieh. You can't see it too easily from a setting sun, but that's where most of the bombing has been over the last 6 weeks, which is a suburb which is described in the West as a Hezbollah stronghold or Hezbollah bastion. I want you to understand, don't let that give you a false impression. There's nothing military about the area at all. It's an entirely residential area. As you've probably seen in those videos, you've probably noted, these are quite nice middle-class apartments and houses. It's actually a very nice suburb. It reminds me of some of the better parts of Marseille. That's what it feels like When you go in there, it has pleasant shops. It has cafes and restaurants. It's actually known for a kind of cafe culture and for being an arts and cultural centre. And I want you to understand that in these areas where Hezbollah, who are a political party here, are in majority support, they don't enforce, it's not ISIS, they don't enforce their brand of Islam on people. The people who live in Dahieh can choose. It's entirely up to them whether or not they wear the veil, for example. And there's one young lady we've been talking to in her early 30s, works as a waitress in a cafe. She doesn't go veiled at all. She's a single parent, never been married, has a 7-year-old child. She lived perfectly happily, a perfectly kind of Muslim. She lived a perfectly happy Western type lifestyle in Dahieh. Nobody ever bothered her. Her home has been destroyed. Everything she owns has been lost. She got out with her 7-year-old child just in time, as so many people have been forced to do, and a quarter of the population of Lebanon, 1.2 million people, have been displaced and lost their homes. An increasing proportion of those, particularly in the south of the country, there's nothing to go home to anymore. They've lost their home, they've lost their property, they've lost everything they earned and worked for, they've lost their livelihood, places of work have been destroyed, farms in particular. The Israelis have been deliberately destroying agriculture. So this is an attack upon a civilian population. This is ethnic cleansing. And there's something else I want to explain to you as well. And that is, it is absolutely a mistake. It is a gross mistake to believe, as some Western media tend to portray, that the Christian community here in Beirut supports Israel. They don't at all. There's a very small minority, less than 20% of the Christian community here who support Israel. The large majority, including the main Christian political parties in Parliament and in the presidency, are firmly anti-Israel. And we are staying in a Christian area here, and we have met over the last 3 weeks many people of all ages, all kinds of professions. We've been talking to them, getting to meet people, getting to know the area, and out of dozens of people, I've met one or two who support the extremist, fascist, frankly, Lebanese force, a Christian phalangist movement, who do support Israel. But they are a tiny minority. The vast majority of Christians here are as appalled as anybody else in the world at the genocide in Gaza. They are absolutely appalled. And of course they are even more appalled by the Israeli attack on their own country. And what Israel is trying to do, and what the United States is trying to do here, is restart the civil war. That's their plan. They're hoping to turn Christians and Muslims against one another. They're doing that, for example, by bombing hotels housing refugees, and this kills scores of women and children at a time when they do this, because those displaced people, many of them have moved into hotels in Beirut and north of here, where they're staying. Whole families stay in one room of a hotel. We were staying in a hotel ourselves for a while, and that hotel was full of refugee families. The Israelis are bombing that kind of hotel, destroying refugee families, but doing it in Christian areas in order to try to turn the Christian population against the refugees by attempting to make people feel having the refugees there endangers them. That's not working. That's merely provoking even more outrage. So don't believe. You read an awful lot of nonsense in the Western media. I've read it about Lebanon being on the brink of civil war. Absolutely not true. This country is solidly feeling united against Israel. Increasingly, Lebanon is feeling united against the United States of America. America is throwing away its influence and reputation in this part of the world. And what Israel and the United States are doing here is actually counterproductive from their point of view. They are helping forge a stronger Lebanese national identity and a stronger sense of unity in this country. And the Lebanese people, I have enormous respect for them. They are very, very brave, very resilient, very courageous. We have the United States envoy, Middle East envoy, Mr. Hochstein, flying in here. He's going to arrive on Tuesday or Wednesday. And he is bringing with him a ceasefire deal, which is the same ceasefire deal they've been touting for the last several weeks, under which Hezbollah will withdraw to the north of the Litani River, in accordance with Security Council Resolution 1701, but absolutely not in accordance with Security Council Resolution 1701, in fact in direct contravention of the aims and principles of the Security Council Resolution. This ceasefire deal says that Israel will have the right at any time to enter southern Lebanon with armed forces, and that Israel will have permanent military overflight rights over Lebanon. Of course, no sovereign country can possibly accept such a humiliating deal. This is surrender of sovereignty. But what's happening here, the reason Israel is bombing so intensely now with American bombs, is to try to force, to blackmail, to pummel the Lebanese into accepting this American-Israeli deal. My own belief is it's not going to happen. You can never underestimate the power of corruption. You can never underestimate the various methods of the CIA, the things the Americans have at their disposal. And America is building their second biggest embassy in the world in Lebanon. And you have to ask why. You know, this is a beautiful, beautiful historic city. But Lebanon is a country of only 5 million people. And it's not one of the wealthiest countries in the world either. Why is it the place that needs the second biggest American embassy in the world? You have to ask yourself that question. And of course, this is a huge spying center. It's a center for the CIA, for NSA, for American special forces, for American domination of the Middle East. That's what that is there for. And that's what the American envoy coming in is going to be trying to enforce. That's what we are facing here. And I'm hoping he's going to leave with a flea in his ear. That's my thoughts for today. That's CraigMurray here, reporting to you live on the ground from Beirut in Lebanon. Thank you.